everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished speakers and guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today for the Huawei Tech4City Community Event, keeping the kampong spirit alive by fostering digital connections. This is the final edition of our three-part series for the Tech4City Community Events, where we work together with our partners and the community to bring about conversations and insights to integrating technology into different aspects of our daily life. We held our community events covering the themes of nature and culture in June and July, respectively. If you missed, please check out our website and social media to watch the playback or wrap-up article. Tech4City Community Event is part of Tech4City competition to nurture a change-making community and inspire participants to address real problems. The competition was launched in early this May, and it aims to encourage youth to imagine using digital technology to build a more sustainable, livable, and inclusive Singapore. Finalists will receive mentorship and stand a chance to win 10K Singapore dollar. And for today's session, we are honored to have our speakers to share and discuss how we can harness technology to empower all segments of society to build a better life. After our speakers' sharing, we will have a panel discussion and Q&A. You can scan the QR code at the side of your left to submit your question anytime. To keep them coming, we are also holding a lucky draw later. 4 lucky winners will walk away with a Huawei Mate 30 mobile phone and set of Huawei Freeless Bluetooth earphones. So please hold your numbers tight. I believe many of you have already signed up for the competition and are in the midst of brainstorming or refining your ideas. A gentle reminder, we are now 6 more days away to a proposal submission deadline. Bring along your ideas and join our clinic session later to receive guidance from Huawei experts to help you sharpen your proposals and ideas. Meanwhile, for those who are late to the party and have yet formed a team, do take this chance to mingle and get to know other like-minded attendees. More importantly, you are welcome to join the lab tour to explore more about this Smart Urban Co-Innovation Lab at the end of today's session. Before we start, let me take this chance to thank our partners for their support in making the Tech4City initiative possible. Thank you to Business China, NTU, NUS Business School, NUS Enterprise, SMU College of Integrative Studies, as well as SUTD. We would also like to thank Smart Urban Co-Innovation Lab for being the venue sponsor for today's event. Besides, we have 2 judges from Advisory Council today at our event, Mr. Edward Tay and Ms. Christina Lee. So if you are interested on our judges' expectation for your proposals, please feel free to reach out to them after the sharing session. Without further ado, please let me introduce our first speaker for today, Dr. Andrew Cole. Dr. Andrew Cole is a senior lecturer at SMU, where he teaches AI and humanity and digital technologies and sustainability. Today, he will share about his research and efforts in reaching the heart of migrant workers in Singapore. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Cole.
Very good afternoon. I'm an introvert, so I got a limit of 10,000 words a day. I just finished a 3-hour lecture, so I do not have many left. So if I run out of words before 15 minutes, I think Tan En, you can come up first. You have more airtime. And I still have, mask. Yeah, I can have the privilege of taking a mask. Yeah, and I still have my wife and children, which I need to reserve some words later. So anyway, today the topic is reaching the heart of migrant workers. Why did I choose and put the word the heart there? Okay, it's about reaching the heart. Just to interact, I'm going to show 4 pictures and tell me what is the common theme between these pictures. So this is a bigger solar farm we have in Singapore, in Tengah. This is during the COVID, some rubbish was left in some estate. This is my family, and we love to go botanical gardens, so playing a ball. And someone in India, shows about education in India. So any guesses on what is the common theme around all of this? Could be sustainability. Okay. Common theme is migrant workers. I mean, actually the answer was in the first slide, right? Without them, we will not be able to build or maintain a solar farm like that. When they were all locked up in the dormitories during the COVID, this is a common site where rubbish is laid around, affects our daily lives, right in the heart of our estates. I always tell my wife, I always see so many people at the parks and gardens maintaining the plants, watering, and and they're here for a reason, and the family is always the reason. Here to work, to provide for their children and family back home. Many of them from India and Bangladesh, some from Thailand, from Myanmar, Malaysia. Okay. So this is where we are. This is Google Trend. Google Trend shows the number of times in which terms have been searched in Google. Anybody knows what this peak is? The peak that we saw. There is the outbreak in the dormitories. We're all familiar with where the pandemic broke out most devastatingly. Beyond that, there continues to be a continued interest in terms of migrant workers, and that's why I've called it a story of awakening. It's also a story of national interest, as what I've mentioned. So one category is CMP. We call them CMP, construction, marine, and process. Process means the workers who are there to maintain your traffic lights and all your electrical systems or any other processes. Okay, it concerns all of us. Okay, the point that I just made just now. So it's of national interest. Story of government priority. During the outbreak, so the government has made plans to build more dormitories, and it used to be about, I think, 3.4, 3.6 square meters per migrant worker. Now it was passed in Parliament over a year ago that expanded them to 4.2 or something. So bigger dormitories, more space for them. And I'm not sure how many of you have heard about the ACE group. Tanan, few of you have heard about the ACE group. So ACE group is an entirely new unit set up under Ministry of Manpower to provide assurance, care, and engagement to migrant workers. In fact, the number of people in ACE group eventually grew to even bigger than the number of people in MOM itself. That's because of the housing officers. Can you imagine an entire department set up to care for our migrant workers? So there is government priority in that. We often talk about technology, but often it's not about technology. Technology has to start from a need, meeting a real need. And to identify the real need is very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So there was the whole design thinking process, which started end of last year, concluded around April, May. I was a part of that. Yeah, I'll tell you more about that later. But these are the different views in which we can view them. The most obvious one as a worker. What are some technologies that we can use? Recently we see a high number of incidents and many fatal incidents. I think this year the count is above 30 already. Technology that can help to lessen that because of the whole backlog of projects and all that. So if you see that's a worker, technology at the construction sites, at the workplace to mitigate that. Many of them are staying in dormitories. Okay? Technology to be frank, a lot of technologies in dormitories is for surveillance and security. Make sure they behave properly. But even within the dormitories, which I'll move on to later, how can we ensure that they can continue to communicate with their family back home? Today, Wi-Fi is a given in all these dormitories, which wasn't always a given even 2-3 years ago. The residents' food, how food can be manufactured, distributed to them. Okay, there's a part there. So we touched on this, right? They are vulnerable, not only from a physical point of view, but in many aspects. Many of them may come and they may not be aware of all the employment laws. And so their VWO sets up where migrant workers can go to have consultation with regards to their rights and their laws. Their employer should pay them on time, pay them according to what's in their work permit, and all that. All that has to be laid out. So they can be easily exploited. I mean, imagine if any one of us go to a foreign land, we're not sure of the language. We cannot assume that all of them are familiar with English. Some of them are only have a very basic command of English. And so they are a very vulnerable population. As a friend, how many of us have know them as a friend? It's interesting how some of them, they're actually very smart. I know someone who, he does 3D drawings for a metal company. And he's learning all sorts of stuff. First of all, I met him building his own websites and all that, and he learned himself. So if we see them as a student, are there technology that can help them to further their skills? This is the one that touches my heart. So in the design thinking exercise, the consultants, he shared about a story about a father who called his son every day to share what he learned from Singapore. And that was a very significant finding, which the Dormitory Association encouraged the dorms. View them as a dad. Can technology help them to be a long-distance dad? Already, you're up against many odds being long-distance. But can technology play a part there? Sorry, I'm giving you questions as compared to answers. I mean, there's all technologies out there, but I want to start with the need, okay? So I'm just throwing questions and just, I think this is familiar. We all know that technology, that there's a role for various stakeholders. From a government, it's more regulation. It's more of enforcement, which is needed. Okay, because not all of them sort of behaves well, to put it. Non-profit. So often these non-profits are in the area where they come for counseling, they come to when they're in trouble, when they're injured, for example. I think Ray of Hope has one migrant worker who's injured and you're raising hope for him. Dormitory operators are the one that they go back. It's like going home and they take care of them. So that's a key part that they play. In fact, often dormitory operators are the closest to a friend that they may have, the security guard at the dorms, the dorm managers. Okay? Employers as well. Yeah, the relationship between employers is so important. I mean, they are paymasters. Public. Okay, is there a role that we can play? Okay. I don't think you can go by a day without meeting one of them. It's whether we are aware or not. The windows here, who cleans the windows? I don't think we can go by a day. And it has shifted from not in my backyard to we are shifting away from that. Okay. Private organization. So technology requires cost. So who is going to invest in it? Okay, got 5 minutes left. I think I'm doing okay. I still got some more words. Oh, actually, I got quite a lot to go through. This is an experience where I've masked out his name for privacy purposes, and he called me by his brother. So he called me. He has a wisdom tooth, he's very much in pain. And he asked me, good to hear from you, and he asked me whether I know of any dentist I can refer to him, and I said no. And I was thinking, doesn't your company insurance cover? He said no. So I just gave him, I got contact in HealthServe, I gave him HealthServe contact, and the picture shows that we were there and he got his teeth fixed in a few days. Okay. I showed that because that got me thinking, even if he does not know me, could he have gotten the contact of HealthServe? And the answer is yes. This is a place where maybe a chatbot could be in. Okay. But by and large, our chatbots are not the user satisfaction is not really high. user satisfaction is not very high. We rather talk to a person. I would rather talk to a person anytime. Okay. However, there still could be a place for it because there's only a certain number of people in the government, in the VWOs who can reach out to them. They experience long working hours and they will always be holding on to their handphones, whether at the work site or in the dormitories. Not all of them are always very used to mobile phones, but through the pandemic, interesting thing is that through the pandemic, you'll get many parcels delivered to them because they have learned how to do online shopping. So they've gotten used to mobile phones. One of the reasons why chatbots, because language is very complex, human communication language is very complex, and this is one of the reasons. Okay, ignore all the concepts. But let's say if two people, they have a thought to say, I want to get a dog. The word that they use, symbol is word, that the word that they use is dog. But one person could mean Jack Russell, one person could mean Terrier mix, or one person do not have any species in mind and just want to have a dog from a shelter. Language is very, very complex. Okay, language is very complex because the referent is not always the same as the thought. But there's a field in AI. Deep learning is a subfield of AI, okay? And we are seeing very good practical applications of it. And under deep learning, there's a whole area called large language models. Okay. There was a model, point number 4, Lambda, was launched in just last year. Sorry, I'm a bit technical, but I think the point I want you to see is point 6. There's this model called GPT-3. It was trained on 500 billion words, actually. 500 billion words from the internet. One of the reasons why AI is progressing very fast is because the availability of data. We know that machine learning requires data. Internet provides a vast volume of data for these large language models to learn. Okay, so I think I got about 1-2 minutes. I just want to have a short demo. Okay, you can go to the browser. So this is the OpenAI platform, and Genevieve is going to help me to ask a question. How can we help the well-being of migrant workers in Singapore? And if you click submit at the bottom, okay, every one of them makes sense, you know. This is a language model. You don't need to even go to somebody who has experience with migrant workers. Providing better access to information about their rights and entitlements. I mentioned about that. Ensuring that they are able to access essential services such as healthcare and education. Education may or may not be so relevant. Okay? Many of them are just here to work. Okay? But healthcare is relevant, of course. Providing them with better working and living conditions. Very relevant through the dormitories. Improving communication and consultation with migrant workers policies. Yeah, so this is not staged. Anybody has a question want to try? You can just try. Any suggestions? You can just try this model. Anybody? Okay. No, you just right in front of you. It's very fun. Okay. Yeah, you can go open access playground. I think I did not. The free tier I used a few queries and it was used up already. So, but then it's not expensive. It's not expensive. They just brought down the price. Okay. Okay, go to the next slide. So I typed in another one. So this is what I did. I think last week. Create an outline for an essay based on migrant workers. Introduce the topic. Discuss the conditions. These are all very relevant things. Okay, my point of that is, while chatbots have been very limited so far, but technology is advancing at a very rapid rate. Okay, you just had a glimpse of a live demo of how fast AI is expanding, and who knows in the future. Okay, so in conclusion, our migrant workers has been a story of awakening, of government priority, national interest. But the genesis, digital transformation, we talk about it a lot. It has to start with a real need. And I've spoken about how we view the migrant workers influences the way we identify their needs. So to give a more practical example, I've used a chatbot just as one of the examples that we can use technology to help them. Yeah, and the chatbots can be used for many areas, healthcare and mental health. I want to leave that with you. Mental health is a very real issue, not just for migrant workers, but for all of us. Government launched a website called Mindline 2 years ago. There's a chatbot in it. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave that with you. Hope you have got something from there. Thank you for your attention. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. I believe many of you are quite impressed about how migrant workers are living in Singapore. Actually, besides workers, residents, they are also our neighbors. So we will talk more about this community group and how your chat box working in the Q&A session. So next, we will have Mr. Tan En, who currently leads the Ray of Hope team as general manager and has overseen the growth in the past 4 years from raising $500,000 a year to an annual donation income of over $4 million. And will share the Ray of Hope experience in using technology to scale a charity. May we invite Anne, please?
Okay, hi everyone. I would have let Dr. Koh continue for 15 minutes, but then I will do Ray of Hope this justice. But it's very, very interesting because I'm personally very passionate about migrant workers. Just as there are 300,000 migrant workers in Singapore, how many charities do you think are serving migrant workers? Less than 10. So the chatbot really will help. So we'll talk about that later. I need to talk about Ray of Hope now. Okay, so Ray of Hope. Who are we? We are a crowdfunding charity. We started 10 years ago, and our job really is to enable the Singapore community to give back. So I will share some campaigns, but really it's crowdfunding it's not a new technology. I mean, we all buy stuff online, it's e-commerce, right? I think COVID really has helped push the people to go buy stuff online and donate online. So for us, same thing, over COVID, we really have seen a big increase in donations. So just now the graph also, when we talk about the Google search, that's also when we received the most number of donations because we had some migrant workers organizations who were fundraising with us. So that was really quite on point. Okay, so the power of tech and the crowd. So of course, COVID is the elephant in the room. So this was in February last year when it kind of just hit Singapore. The healthcare workers were working overtime, making sure that the patients are taken care of, doing a lot of screening. So we had an ex-healthcare worker who wanted to buy coffee for her colleagues. So she thought, okay, I want to do some good. You just transfer money to my account. I will go to Coffee Bean. I pay Coffee Bean directly. Then you can redeem a coffee. So she raised about maybe $2,000 on her own. Then she came to us, and then we say, why don't you start a campaign with Ray of Hope? And what is interesting is, now that she has a campaign, she raised $26,000 because you're taking trust out of the equation. You're donating to Ray of Hope, and we pay Coffee Bean directly. And then we can keep track of how many coffees Coffee Bean have given. Because you wouldn't transfer money to this healthcare worker. You don't know her. What if she takes the money and run away? But we take that out of the equation. So we realized there was a big gap during COVID. A lot of people want to do good. They want to do good better. So we enabled a lot of migrant groups. It's Raining Raincoats is one. COVID Migrant Support Coalition. They are all volunteer groups, not registered, no bank account. So if they were to start their own campaign, all of the money will go into their personal account. They both collectively raised about $1.5 million. Can you imagine having $1 million in your bank account? That is not your money. So we became the finance department. We basically said, okay, don't worry, you go and do good, go to the dormitories, go and do outreach, we will handle all of the funds. So we paid the vendors, we paid the food company so that they can raise money. And now actually Raining Raincoat is a charity, so we are quite proud to be able to help them scale. So the keyword is scaling, right? So this is just one campaign, one story of how we help. This is the other one. So I don't know whether some of you know, but I think a couple of months ago, there was a very, very unfortunate incident at Beach Road. This lady, her name is Miss Han, she got attacked by her ex-husband. So she's a Chinese national. her medical bills are not covered. She has basic insurance, which is $15,000. So every migrant worker who works in Singapore, the employer must buy at least $15,000. But her bills end up to be about $97,000, I believe. So again, if we decided, okay, let's start a campaign for her, we fundraise and we will pay the hospital directly. So again, as a donor, you know, okay, I don't need to worry about the money being misused, because a couple of years ago, there was an example of somebody who raised about $1 million via crowdfunding. Within 2 years, she lost the money. For various reasons, whether it's misuse, she bought insurance products, people came to her. So a bit like the lottery effect, right? When you win a lottery, usually you become worse off. So we help by making sure that the funds are going to the right place. So that's on the crowdfunding side of things. That's the platform. But why are we a charity? So beyond crowdfunding, she did not have a very good relationship with her employer. I know if you read the newspapers, it looks like there were a lot of support, but the employer didn't really do a very good job. So she didn't have a place to stay after she was discharged from the hospital. So we, being a charity, so we go beyond crowdfunding and we paired her with another charity in Singapore. There's a very, very strong Chinese migrant community. So what's happened now is that they will send her to the hospital, they will bring her out for walks, so she can recuperate better. And in this case, because we pay the hospital directly, the donors know their money is safe. So that's the stuff we do beyond crowdfunding. This is the other one. Last year, this boy, his name is Devon. He was, I believe, 16 months old. He has a very, very rare genetic disease. He needed this particular drug that cost $2.125 million. So the family came to us and said, we really need to fundraise. Can you help us? I thought, sure. I said, sure. But in my mind, I'm like, there's no way we can raise $2.8 million, because how are we going to do that, right? And you could argue, can the government spend $2.8 million on one boy? They can't. You cannot, politically, it's just not possible. So the great thing about crowdfunding and tech is now everybody can come together and support him. So we raised that amount in 10 days. So currently, I think it just came out on Straits Times today, there is another boy, he's 2 months old. He has a very similar genetic condition. Now the drug is $3 million because of the exchange rate. The drug is still the same, but it's about $3 million. I think we are at $700,000 at the moment. So again, every cent counts. $1, $10, $50. The idea is that you donate through Ray of Hope. We will handle the funds and we pay the hospital directly. So that's what we do. But beyond the big campaigns, one thing I also want to share that at the core of our work actually is this kind of campaigns. So Madam Rosita, in the crowdfunding platform business model world, right, platforms either take a cut or there's the tip model, right? So at the checkout page, you can tip the platform. So naturally, the bigger the campaign, the more money they make. So crowdfunding platforms wouldn't do this kind of campaigns. But there is a need. That's where, again, our charity comes in, right? We make sure that she needs help. For her case, she has already exhausted all of her resources, right? The government is supporting with some need. Again, I won't comment whether it's enough or not enough, but so we decided to come in. We start a campaign for her. We do a needs analysis to make sure that her needs are verified. We check her documents, and so in this case, the campaign is $2,250. And I think we're raising $150 for over 12 months, something like that. So it's a small amount, but there is a need. And who will fight for her? Who will help her promote? So we use our own marketing budget to push her campaign on our social media because she has a need. So as a donor, you now get to decide who you want to give to. Because traditionally speaking, when you give to a charity, the charity decides who is deserving. And how do you do that? You have a fund. You have criteria. Okay, so a poor person is somebody who earns less than $650 per capita. But then what if you earn $700? Then unfortunately, you can't qualify because there's a criteria. You're the steward of donor money. But with crowdfunding, with technology, we can now put all of these beneficiaries online. You can decide who you want to give to instead of me deciding. So there's transparency, there's accountability. Of course, the downside, if I'm honest, is that dignity. It is challenging. Right? For her, she was okay with having a photo taken, But we have had beneficiaries who tell me, actually, I prefer not to have my face taken. I want to change the name of my name. I said, can be done. We'll take a photo from the back. We change our name in the story, but it is harder to fundraise. So it's a balancing act, right? We want to scale responsibly, right? So we don't just do big campaigns. We make sure every beneficiary to come through our door gets help. Yeah, so charity platform. So this is something that for the past year we have been grappling because we are 10 years old this year. So naturally, there's a lot of who are we, who is Ray of Hope, what are we going to do in the next 10 years? Are we a charity? Are we a platform? So for very long, we keep ding-dong between, we're a charity, no, we're a platform. And then after a while, we realize, actually, we are both. Right? The charity anchors our work in values. And then we have the platform to scale. Right? Because if you go back to Devden, how would the public donate to him without a platform? I mean, you're not going to have 24,000 donors queue up at your office and give you cash, right? That's not possible, right? So in this case, we can, with a platform, you can scale, people can give. Yeah, so we're always struggling with this platform charity, but now we decided we are both. We use the charity as values to anchor, and we can scale the platform. So I think my take-home message really is that, any of you can contribute back to the community. You can give, you can volunteer, and one of the most challenging things about our sector is that, of course, we have no resources, right? We are a charity. It's very, very hard to attract talent in the tech sector. So I'm very, very lucky with Ray of Hope. We have a very good tech team, and I actually have a volunteer product manager who helps me manage my tech team. But it's very, very hard to find. A lot of charities out there struggling with their digital transformation because they end up getting vendors and they spend a lot of money with vendors, but they build white elephants because they don't know what they need. And the vendor, they're selling products. Of course, they tell you they understand your needs and they will customize, but at the end of the day, they are vendors, right? So if you have a skill set, volunteer. Find a cause you like, find a charity, and then raise your hand and say, okay, I can help you with product management, I can help you with skill set, a lot of other things. But that's really it. I just wanted to share more stories than anything. But I think a bit of a call to action really is this campaign. We don't usually single out campaigns because then the question is it fair that we only single out the $3 million campaign? What about the $3,000 campaign? So my call to action will be just go to our website. Everything is verified. 100% of the funds that you donate go to the beneficiary. We even cover the credit card charges, which is between 1.5% to 3%. Of course, at the checkout page, there's an option to donate to Ray of Hope. It's by default ticked. You can untick it very easily. It's only one click. Again, this is something that we debated for very long. Is it sneaky for that box to be ticked? So we decided, okay, maybe we don't tick the box first. We leave it empty. So we found out maybe 20% of donors ticked to donate to Ray of Hope. We're like, okay, I think we really can't survive with just 20%. So we make it default ticked. So the number went up to 80%. We do have some donors, once in a while, who email me, hey, what is this? I look at my receipt, what is this? I didn't donate to Ray of Hope. And then I explain, okay, we are a charity. I explain the beyond crowdfunding, right? We're not just a platform. We do so many other things for our beneficiaries. So can you donate to us? Some say, no, I still want you to refund me the $10 that I donated. I say, sure, I will refund you. Even though in our terms and conditions, we say no refunds, but you're a charity, right? Other platforms, you need 4 clicks to get to 0, right? So you need to click the pencil, click other amount, put 0, click submit, and go back to the checkout page. So that's 4 clicks. So we decided, again, the balance is we make it easy. There's a checkbox. You just tick once. Because if I really wanted to increase that number from 80% to maybe 90%, I just take out the checkbox. Then you are forced to do that process. Then I will have more revenue for Ray of Hope. But that's not the right thing to do. So that's really how we always balance the charity and the platform. But yeah, that's all I. So go to the website, choose a campaign. Any campaign, doesn't have to be these babies, but any campaign. All of the funds go to the beneficiary.
Thank you, Anne, for sharing all these campaigns and stories. Actually, life is not easy, especially for some groups of people. But I believe your charity platform really brings hope to those families. Our next speaker is founder of Green Space Plus, Ms. Gina Singh. Green Space Plus is a one-stop green hub for ground-up initiatives. Their mission is to establish a green ecosystem while developing green community activities to nurture innovation and train the residents and volunteers at the East Coast. Today, she will share with us on how to harness technology to shape communities. Please welcome Gina.
Thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. Today's sessions, it gives me a lot of hopes, right? There's so many of you sitting here, so many of you trying to do something that's good for the future. I think that itself is a plus point. So where I am is I'm going to share with you a little bit about community, right? Not just about convenience, not just about commercial, but from community standpoint, what matters, right? Let me just... Before I go into that, let me explain a little bit about who I am. And it also follows you a path of why I'm doing this today, right? I started off working on large project. I was speaking to a few of you before, and I was based in China for 10 years, a Singaporean based in China for 10 years. And I've been working on since before 2008 Olympics. So I built Volkswagen pavilions. I built the torch relay. And later on, after that hoo-ha is done, I went on to the next about data, because at that time, data is in a big thing, right? 大数据. So that itself was a new frontier. And I go into the big data. I understand how it works in terms of building up social data, personal data, and also consumer data, attitude data, put all into one to understand a person's journey, all right? So that's where I dwell a lot more in CRM, right? And this CRM as well, you can see the project I'm handling on is a lot of community projects, which is help new mothers. Okay, at that time, I'm also a pregnant mom. So it's very easy for me to go into, to understand the mindset of a mom, all right? So I started off a CRM for new mothers, for Nestle. So at that time, we are selling about milk products, infant nutrient products, where everybody is advocating about breastfeeding, right? So a big switch in terms of how we want to engage people, how we want to do positive good by just getting people to have options, right? And I've also built on projects like very exclusive projects like the Spider, which is a Porsche car. In China, there was only 100 pieces of this 718 Spider car. And the high net worth people at that time, right? The high net worth are sitting in there, wanting to do a very exclusive access of concierge service. And that's where we are providing that very, very exclusive service. It's as good as closing down Sydney Harbour, for a proposal, a marriage proposal, right? Very, very exclusive. Or meeting so-and-so, in US, or having their stories being embedded in Hollywood scripts, right? It's very exclusive in terms of building that community up. And then later on, I also joined DBS, and I work a lot on projects with using design thinking. Okay, this is another part of things that I have learned across my journey about design thinking and how we use design thinking as part of your design process, your thinking process in terms of building solution. Okay, and then on throughout my project's life, I have been networking, building, getting involvement with people, because you don't work on things alone. You always need an ecosystem, right? And with that, give birth to the project I'm working on right now. And you could see this, right? My years of experience come from how I exchange currency. In China, very sad to say, what I'm doing then is it's for money, All right, I work for money. Later on, during the second part in my birth of my daughter, I literally work for time. What is the best? What can I exchange my currency with, which is time? At this stage of my life, I work for purpose. So you can see at different stage of your life, you do things differently. And I'm very glad a lot of you are very young right now, and if you could see purpose as your primary way of working in life, or primary way of moving towards in life, that is a very different perspective, and I really applaud you for that. Yeah, do scan this. It will give a lot more details in the project I'm working on, which is a working name Green Action Center. Website is not up yet. Reason is we are still on the works. We're going to launch it later in this year. All right. So what is this Green Action Center, right? Green Space is where our new name for it. All right. It's a one-stop hub that's going to solve 3 issues. Okay. We did a survey that goes out. All right. And we asked people, what is it about sustainability, about climate change that you want to know or you want to do? All right. We have over 90% awareness of climate change. Everybody's aware of it, right? And they know there's urgency to it. If I don't do this, something will happen. They know the consequences of it. And when you ask the follow-up questions, what are you going to do about it? Then you come in, it drops to 42%. I don't know what am I going to do. I don't know where should I do it. Even though there's a lot of organization that's doing something, people are it's still a fragmented ecosystem, right? So what you see here, Green Action Center or Green Space, what we are trying to do is to do 3 things. 1, a very easy plug-and-play model. Anyone, any social enterprise that want to do something, come to us, we set it up. And my current database right now, we have 70 partners. 70. It's not even launched yet, right? And the second one, we are embedding the whole space with technology, which I'm going to touch on later on. To us, working on this climate change battle is not just human. You need tech. You need tech to monitor, to track, to scale up or to scale down the efficiency, right? And that is very important. And again, to use a technology out there and putting in real life environment, that is technology level 7 to 11, right? If you talk about experimentation scale, it's tough for a lot of newcomers to come in. So we say, you know what? This is a playground for you. Come in. And then we incubate the project together with you. And we see how that will help in terms of the environment. How we can, build that KPI together. And the third part is we do with hands-on practitioner skill set. A lot of you volunteers, very good, but do you want to know what level of volunteering work can you go into, right? There's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, depending on what type of skill sets you have. And we have all those planned out so that you don't feel that you're burnt out doing one type of work, right? And I think building a community, this is really important in terms of how you grow people, because ultimately, it's a personal growth as well. And I'm sharing with you all this because this is what I went through, what a lot of people that I interviewed went through, and we come up with this solution. All right. Okay. So with that, this is what we are trying to build is a community of the future. It changes, it evolves through the participants. Right? To me, strategy is a strategy. But what it really boils down is people's involvement, right? You shape the strategy. So there's 4 parts that I want to talk about. The first one is identity. Yeah, I can go into that later on. Identity is interesting. How we establish this place is very interesting. As I was mentioning earlier as well, to say that a few of my team members, when they come in, we teach them how to look at what qualifies as a partner. Are they greenwashing, or are they just truly, building the space up to be green? What's their strategy? What's their angle? These are the questions we ask before we bring them in, because we don't want to be identified as a place that we welcome everybody, but not knowing what they stand for. We need to first understand what each and our partners stand for, and we welcome them, right? If not, there's always chance for us to help them, support them, educate them. But we need to know what is the baseline, all right? Space. This space, the Green Space Plus, one very major thing we have advantage over a lot of places is that we do have a physical space. And with this physical space, we really want to build up from ground up initiative and make it work for us, that immersive experience. And the third one is human connection. Human connection is, you talk about community, you need to have human connections, right? It comes with it because it comes with trust. It comes with ethics. It comes with knowing who you are talking to. And therefore, these three things builds up that trust factor. Whereas the last one, technology, you have to be very smart with it, right? You need to have very clear roles. If you term technology just as communication role, that's one level. But if you put it as a separate roles, that's level 2 or level 3. And I'll walk you through because these are all our design thinking thoughts about it. So this is the space I'm talking about, all right? This is the Green Space Plus sitting in the East Coast, all right? This has been dormant, or at least it has been a green, flat piece of land for the past 3 to 4 years. So what we are trying to do is to really build this place up to be a community engagement space. And there's 5 zones in it, right? From energy to sustainability lifestyle, to food resilience, to city nature, and the whole entire space, the way we design it is that you can always go into some area to find your like-minded people to be with, to engage with, because we want to build up the community service, we want to build up the volunteer service. Yeah. And there's a lot of activities. Building a community cannot be only one way. It needs to have varieties. And for us, we are not doing everything ourselves. We're bringing social enterprises. Each of these individual ones are owned by social enterprises, right? They come in, they build on different activities so that a lot of volunteers are out there coming feel that today, I have been spending 3 months working on my plants. I want to try something different, right? And they are able to, because you don't fatigue a person over too much. You don't burn out that person. You build variety, you build growth, right? So if you can see, there's a lot of interesting part that we're playing up with. And a lot of social enterprises are coming up to us and say, we want to work with you. Because we have a certain mindset to say, this place is for inclusiveness. We want to include as many different social enterprises as possible, right? The end goal is definitely the people, right? It's not me, it's not them, it's the people. And this is where I'm talking about. On average, if you talk about a normal volunteering concept, right, it's always 95% people comes in and help out once a week, once a year or twice a year. That's it. But here we have a strategy. We have a strategy to move people up a level because we want to move people from someone who just comes in once in a while to all the way cultivate them as a leader, a change maker. And that change maker, they have the ability to go out, to go out and do their own sustainability efforts, right? And that's where we want to be. Okay? Technology. Technology is key, as I mentioned before. Technology is key because of 3 things. One is we wanted people to know, to not know about technology, but to feel it, right? We are incubating our products. We are incubating all our B2B products as well. Not only that, we're using data and IoT to make sure the operations of it, to make sure there is community data being tracked, there is an environment data being tracked properly. And the third part, it's about relationship, right? We want to build gamification within it. So every part of gamification that a person steps in, they do something, it earns a certain point, a volunteer point. And that in the future will be a currency for them. All right. And with that, quickly, this is 19th or 20th of November. We are having a big launch over there. So it's going to be a 100 booth, one of the biggest one that you will see in Singapore, launching at that time. So do save the date. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, for sharing all these quite exciting community-led initiatives. And it is meaningful to calling for more residents from our community to take actions and contribute to a more sustainable and livable society. Our last speaker is Mr. Charles Chen, Managing Director of Huawei International, overseeing public affairs and communications of the Singapore office. Under his leadership, Huawei Singapore embarked on its journey of giving back to the local community through the Tech4City and many other activities. Charles will share Huawei Tech for All initiatives and its global cases, and more importantly, he will share how Huawei contributes to a more sustainable, progressive Singapore with tech. May I invite Charles, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Chen, and I'm the Managing Director in Huawei International, overseeing public affairs. So first, I would like to thank Amy and my teams for the hard work to make this event possible. And thank you to all the speakers and the guests. Without your, thank you for your great support. So it's my great pleasure to share a bit global cases and what I've done in Singapore. Maybe those experience can inspire us to think about some more new ideas to contributing to a more sustainable and progressive Singapore with tech. So first, I will talk about Tech for All. So we are in the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic. So some of the people may realize how tech and digital application is important to you and how they help your daily lives. But some of them only realize when pandemic happens, you have to start working from homes. So like teleconference, those internet connectivity is more crucial to your daily lives. But do you know that there's still about 300 million people without any type of internet access in the world? And I believe there's a much higher number of people lack of digital skills. So from the very first day, Huawei is committed to bridge the digital divide. So in the past decades, Huawei have been improving the network in the multi-continents, in Asia, in Europe, in Latin America. We built 2G network, 3G network, 4G network. Nowadays, we are helping countries and organizations to adopt cloud solutions, AI solutions. But there's still a lot of people are leaving behind. So Tech for All is one of the Huawei's long-term digital inclusion initiatives, and it's also aligned with Huawei's vision and mission, which is bring digital to every person, home, organization for a fully connected, intelligent world. Although Huawei is a global company, we have business in 170 plus countries and the district, but without partners' help, we cannot deliver and achieve our goals, deliver these Tech for All global initiatives. So partnering is very important for us in our business as well in our Tech for All projects. In the past few years, we are very proud to share that we have been working with 40 plus partners, including like UNESCO, ITU, IUCN, and GSMA, like the top telecommunication company, Vodafone Foundation, right? So we have delivered 45 projects globally and in 25 countries. Especially, we are doing a lot of digital awareness projects globally, so we can see there's about 100,000 plus students have benefited from our programs. But anyway, digital inclusion, Tech for All is a very broad topic. We cannot do, our resources limited. And Huawei's strengths also in certain aspects, we provide technologies. We are only good at technologies. So we have to be focused on some area. So Huawei Tech for All is mainly deploy projects in 4 domains, like education. So we driving equity and quality in educations. Second is our environment. So we conserving nature with technologies. Third pillar is our health. So driving our inclusion of accessibility of health. The last one is about development. So as I mentioned just now, a lot of people don't have internet access. So how we're using ICT to boost rural development. Since today's theme is about neighbor, campus spirit. So I'll share a few cases in education, in health, and many of these two pillars. So this number I just showed just now, about 110,000, 110,000 students are benefiting from our education projects. So how we benefit such a huge number of students? We deploying a 3 category of projects. First one you can see is connecting schools. So if there's no internet, there's reasons. So if you want a short term, you cover the massive 300 million people with internet, it's not possible. So what we can do in those areas, we can have some access point. So best access point for internet, for people to access digital content is actually school. So in those countries, we are using digital school, open school concept to help those students or young youth or villagers to access the digital world in the schools. Second one is our skill on wheels. So we have digital trucks, we have smart bus in Africa, also in Europe. So because of the format of the truck or the bus, first one we can update the content timely. Second one, it can be the mobility, make sure we can cover more people. The last one is about empowering the unempowered. So we have an app called Store Inside. So this is apps developed with Huawei's partner, using Huawei AI features to help deaf people to catch up on their study schedules. Okay, this second case is about visual impairment. So visual impairment is a very common issue, right? So a lot of people have a different type of visual impairment. I also have a short sight eye, right? So I have to start to wear my glasses since in my early 20s. It's because I play too much video game in my high school. So I would say I was lucky to starting wear glasses by my 20s. Although it's not a good example because my grow up, it started affected by my eyes. But for some of the babies who have this kind of problem in very early stage before they can talk, it could be a big issue, right? So for adults, you can go to the doctor, your diagnosis, you can know what's the problem, then you can take care of the problem. But for the babies, they can't speak. So what we're gonna do, we work with this MDive, this company in Spain, and we built using Huawei AI technologies plus our smart devices. We develop apps to track the gas of the babies. So by doing that, by tracking the gas of babies and analyze the data at the back AI platform, we are helping the parents to detect whether the baby's eyesight got problem or not, right? So before they make an impact on the baby's study and early detection is very important. So this project launched in 2019. In the 2 years' time, we have been deployed this in 5 countries, mainly in China and some Spanish-speaking countries. And we have about 4,500 kids being examined. Next one is also using some example for our smartphone devices. So according to the data, there are 650 million people with living with a disability. That's a huge number. So how we can cover that kind of huge number, we must be creative. You may know or you may not know Huawei used to be one of the biggest smartphone makers in the world. You used to ship about 200 million smartphones a year. So if we can do something on our smartphone, give some features, and then we can cover a lot of disability people. So what we do, our R&D put a lot of effort working with a lot of NGOs in China and study how disability people lives looks like, and we put a lot of features and APIs in our Huawei mobile systems. So this is open to the developers. Developers can easy to develop those apps who can help the disability people to the daily lives. So according to the data, we had helping about 4 million people with visual impaired problems. It's one of the cases I just shared. Another, we have helping about nearly 1 million hearing impaired people. The next case is in China. So it's about how we're helping senior citizens to embrace the digital life. So actually, be a senior citizen in China is very challenging. They have a common problem like other countries. And another special thing in China is China developed so fast. Ever since reform and open up, in the 40 years, I think work journey about other countries done in 100 years. So there's a lot of new things come out every day. So for the seniors, although they are wise people, but they're losing the best time to studying all those technologies. But there's a lot. But the number of the senior people in China is also huge. But among them, about 1/3 never shop online. Although the online shopping is one common thing in China, and 1/4 of the senior don't know how to using the book taxi online. Then it could be a big problem because in China nowadays you very hard to have a 3-hall taxis. Everybody have a booking, right? So we're working with this Beijing LD and Impairment Action to develop 10 courses dedicated for the senior citizens, helping about 15,000 to teach them digital skills, help them embrace the digital applications, get them to know using WeChat, using video calls, online shopping is not a scary things. Yeah. So that's some cases we done globally. So in Singapore, we have been trying we're putting our effort to the community and talent as well. So for the community, we're trying to help community in the digital skills through a lot of knowledge sharing and donation. Also, we are working with different NGOs, organizations, like today's our landlord, Smart Urban Lab, right? And another thing we always focus on talent cultivation. So we've been build up working relation projects with all IHLs, like universities, like police and ITEs to offer them ICT courses, whilst type of trainings, and we are trying to set up some scholarship in university and poly as well. There's a few cases we have been done in the past 2 years. The first one is we have been supporting Hokage digital initiatives in East Coast GRCs. So we have been working with East Coast grassroots leaders and the PA to bulk purchase the food from the hawkers and send the food to the people who might need it. But it's not like a normal donation I buy and send, but we are using the online delivery platform. By doing this, I think we benefit people who need the food, and we also educate the hawkers. You can get business from online platform. Not only your customer is isolated, not only the people who come to your door every day, right? And we also are trying to improve digital literacy of senior citizens. We're working with IMDA's digital inclusion team, join the digital ambassador programs, and we also work with some of the associations to go to the community, talk to them, help them to give them a knowledge sharing. This is one of the example my colleagues sharing how to deal with the crime cases. And about talent, we have a few programs running. First one is our Seeds for Future program. This is a global program. We used to since start from 2009 from Thailand, and now it's become a global program. We used to send about 10 students for a trip to China for 2 weeks every year. Due to the pandemic, we are not able to do that, but we have a hybrid session these 2 years. We hope this can be resumed next year. And of course, I mentioned that we are building a WILDS training program with local IHLs. This is one of the example. We build up the ICT Academy provides free certification courses to the students. Okay, that's all from my side. So thank you again, and hope we can together build a more sustainable, livable Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. I believe many of our participants got some inspiration from Tech4All cases. There are many sexy cases around the globe, and we hope to find or collect some good ideas in Singapore locally as well. And I think you already seen the Seeds for the Future program. Actually, the Tech4City competition also looking for and provide the fast track opportunities for to be the participants of the Seeds for the Future in next year. So thank you once again to all the speakers for sharing about how we can all leverage on technology in different areas to build a more digitally inclusive community. I believe many of you already have some questions that you would like to ask. Please scan this QR code to submit your questions, and we will invite our guests to address them in a while. The Tech4All competition proposal submission deadline is on 31st August. Please allow me to remind you again that is just 6 days away. For those who have yet to submit your proposals, please do as soon as possible. The winning team will be awarded with a cash prize of 10K and got a fast-track opportunities to Huawei programs. And also you will have the chance to see those ideas become real. Next up, we will have our panel discussion. Let us now invite our speakers once again for the discussion. Okay, so to kick off the discussion, I would like to ask two general questions to all speakers today. The first one is, when we talk about kampong spirits, it's all about human interaction. While trying to integrate technology into our daily lives, and with the prevalence of scams and other issues, actually not everyone trusts technology. So how can we gain the trust and ensure that this kampong spirit and close human interaction is kept alive with our neighbors? Maybe the first question, we start from Dr. Ko.
Yeah, not directly answering the question first, but I just want to qualify what I just shared. When I was sitting there, I realized that I could have left you all with the wrong impression, not greenwashing, but tech washing. It's true that such AI models exist, but it's not implemented in a chatbot yet. In my course, I'm getting my students to design a chatbot, but we're not using that technology, which is just demoed. So just to qualify that demo was to show the advancement of AI, but to bridge it into a chatbot, it's not there yet. Okay, I'm on a journey and I'm working towards it. And one of the challenge is I've spoken to migrant workers, and it'll be very hard for them to get onto a chatbot. For them to, and there is this, maybe even mistrust towards new apps you want them to install. I mean, we are also a bit app fatigue, right? And so it has to be coming back to the real need, which many of us have mentioned. If we can create a chatbot such that it meets one of their needs. And it's interesting how one of the video just now was on Pursuit of Happiness, right? It's about Will Smith taking care of his son, very touching movie. If a migrant worker knows that there is a resource there that can help me to be a better father, that would be the draw. So it's to bridge whatever I have demonstrated. And the question, right, if I put a question in there, how can I be a better dad as a migrant worker in Singapore? The answer may not be so robust. I've not tried it yet. Because the responses you saw, it makes sense because it's based on information which is on the internet, which those will be there. But this will be a very specific use case. And so how do we then bridge that? And so to answer your question, Amy, is, and this relates to one of the questions that one of you have posted, it has to meet a real need in a very tangible way, that they want it. We go to our apps because it's something that the app can give us. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. Actually, you bring real needs that migrant workers need. But I think maybe we move to in. So actually, you are dealing with people's money, donors' money. I think the trust is the foundation to get those money. And you already like marketing or shape the stories for people's real needs. But how to build up all this trust from donors?
It is challenging, even for this this campaign that we just launched for Baby Zen, right? We had some comments from the parents that they don't trust the link. They rather pay now or the money to the parents. So on our end is what can we do to instill that trust? I mean, of course, regulatory speaking, we are one of the 4 crowdfunding platforms in Singapore, regulated by the government. I'm a charity. I have an extra level of governance I have to adhere to. So it is challenging with the prevalence of scams. That's why we make sure that all of our campaigns on our platform are fully verified. Because if you have one case where there's a scam, it affects everybody. And that really is the challenge in the crowdfunding space. One of the things that I also recently really noticed was our platform, you can't start your own campaign. You have to go through Ray of Hope. But other platforms, you can just write your own story. But what's stopping somebody from changing the story after the amount is raised? So share a quick example. I bought a staycation on Lazada recently. And the package says you can claim the hotel stay from this date to this date. So I was like, oh, great. So when I went to claim, they say, oh, sorry, actually cannot. I'm like, but wait, when I bought it, it says you can claim. Then I went back to check. They changed the dates on the product page. I'm like, what? Then, of course, I didn't take a screenshot. Why would I take a screenshot, right? Then it got me thinking, like, in the crowdfunding space, that is what could happen. So again, we make sure that nobody can change the campaign story. That's why I talk about scaling responsibly. Because if you were just a platform, then I might not think about all these things because my job is to raise as much money as possible. So that is a challenge that we all face in this sector. So that's why we make sure that every campaign is verified so that when you donate, you know exactly where your money is going.
Yeah, I think actually his answers maybe give some points on that. Maybe we move to Gina. Do you have anything to add on?
I think I'll add on to the role of technology, if it's for local or if it's for scaling, right? Just local means your local community. If local community is where people can see each other, trust is being built. Technology follows to build up, right? If it's for scaling, technology comes first. Then, human touch comes second. So, you have to think through what is the role of technology, how it applies to the project that you're working on. Because otherwise, if you use technology as a generic way of using, it serves no purpose.
That makes sense. Charles, do you have anything to add on?
So you're asking how to build the trust, right? Remind me thinking, in the past 3 years, I'm doing public affairs work. But before that, I'm not a professional PR. But in the past 3 years, Huawei Public Affairs Department have the most serious and tough job in the past 3 years because there's a lot of propaganda running on Huawei. So when in my daily work, I talk to some stakeholders. They kind of have this, they don't trust, I can feel, although they reply, they don't trust me that much or trust our organization that much. But after we talk to them, we show them, and we elaborate all the aspects, I think the situation changed. We can start building the trust. We can start some collaborations. So I guess if you want to build trust, I think is in your question is similar. More communication, more awareness. So I think one of the things we can do is encourage more people to, more people, more resource to these kind of projects, and eventually, I think those people who are not trust the technology will understand that technology is just a tool helping us. But it could be good, it could be bad. It's actually a purpose, but actually technically natural, right? Neutral, yeah.
Thank you. So real need and personal relations lies down the technology, also the more communications between public sectors and different sectors among the world would really make a difference to trust on technology. My second question is, Were there any challenges or obstacles you faced while you integrating technology for the community project? I think some of you already mentioned that on your sharing, but what sort of support do you wish to see to help you in engaging the community? Maybe this one we start from Charles.
Okay, back-to-back questions. There's a lot of challenges. That's why one of the reasons we're running these Tech4City programs, we want some ideas from the smart use. And I think, well, first challenge will be identify the problems. All right. So as Prof just shared, migrant workers they have a lot of issues. But I think before pandemic, most of the Singaporeans doesn't realize they need some help, right? Like when recently we have a lot of internship in my departments, and I was also trying to very hard, but I find that myself very hard to understand the intern's problem because I have like 15 years of working experience. So when maybe you can know what you kind of help you need, but for this kind of less privileged people, you are not in their position, you're not in their shoes, maybe actually identify the problem is a challenge already. Secondly is how to use creative ideas, use tech to ease the problems. And because technology can do a lot of things, but technology is not, cannot solve all the problems. The resources are limited, the time is limited. So we need a lot of creative ideas, to help ease the problems. That's why I have a very high expectation on the Tech4's. Those kind of projects. We hope we can select one or two projects to resolve some of the real the city-state problem and to be implemented next year. The last one could be maybe the sustainability of the projects. If you only rely on CSR fund, on donation, or volunteer, maybe not enough. I kind of hope, because I joined some hackathon earlier this year, I found some idea from the students could be commercialized in a very short period, and I hope some of the sustainability projects could be a long-term self-sustained projects, commercial projects in the future. Then make a healthy ecosystem which can self-sustain, that kind of ecosystem. Thank you.
I'll continue on with the challenges. I think for us we are always looking for volunteers. So the challenges is if you have more people interested to do something about sustainability, I know my QR code was there. You can just look up, for me, and there's even a sign-up form for volunteers. Go in there and sign up as a volunteer. The other part is what can tech do? I think what it is the output of all your competitions. If there's anything that's related to how we engage a community and deploy it into a space, my space is always open up for incubation of new ideas. We will have ready-made target audience, ready-made technologies that we could leverage on. All you need to do is come in and give it a try. I think that itself will give life to your product, not just ideation stage, but actually, see if it's growing or not, right? Because at the end of the day, you also want to put your own projects, own idea into test. Yeah.
I think on the macro side, we talk about the Internet of Things, or IoT devices. So a simple example, monitoring elderly living alone in a house, right? There's so many sensors out there that you can implement in a house, but then there's the challenge of dignity and privacy. Who should have access to that data? Whether it's I don't know. I have people telling me you can put all kinds of sensors at the door, on the floor mat, on a walking cane. But again, who should have access to that data, right? So for the privacy of the beneficiary, and then that's the hardware side of things. Then the software side of things, which is the people. Are there people passionate in this sector who's willing to give back? Because really there is not enough people who have the skill set to try to do good in the community, because you can't make money from this. Actually, no, you can, but I guess none of us really cracked the code yet. So I think those are some of the challenges on the bigger scale. As a personal example, at Ray of Hope, we actually tried to use SingPass info to onboard beneficiaries, because we thought the government has all this information. Instead of having our beneficiaries having to dig out their documents and then give the case managers who have to manually look through it and enter the data, why can't we use SingPass? So we spent a couple of months integrating SingPass into our system, but we couldn't get past the hurdle of our case managers feeling that it's impersonal. Because previously they had a notebook, they were talking to the beneficiary, understanding their story, writing it down. But now they have a laptop in between them and the beneficiary. So it's like you're creating a barrier. So I thought, okay, can we use an iPad? So we give them iPads, but you can have an iPad, you can have a pen, but how do you enter data input? So in the end, we kind of abandoned the project because we write to pen and paper, which is challenging. But these are some of the just challenges with integrating technology into day-to-day processes. But yeah, so it is tricky. But I think it can be done. It just needs a lot of buy-in, and it needs the workforce to be mature enough to handle some of these things.
I've mentioned the part where I've provided a demo. So today, there are a lot of open technology out there, but it provides a base. How then do we bridge that to specific needs, like for example, parenting or being a dad or other needs that we identify? So that's one which I've mentioned. The other area is computers, right? Control C and Control V. So I just Control C what Tan En shared about impersonation, you know. Not migrant workers. Are we ready to use a chatbot to find comfort in the context of mental health, in the context of counseling? Often a person's presence, if you talk to a counselor, something they do is active listening, and it's just simply reflecting back, showing empathy. Can AI show empathy? Can technology show empathy? I think that's the biggest barrier, your presence, you know, facing a laptop or even an iPad. And even if you get the chatbot to be able to function well, but you know, I think that would be another barrier, another challenge, which there are no answers. But we are coming to a space where the physical and the virtual world is becoming quite scary. I think for many of us in the room, this metaverse, online avatars, you know, and it's a generational thing as well. I mean, the migrant workers coming in are actually getting younger. Just recently, I've heard the feedback. They're getting younger, and even within them, there are generations within them. So yeah, I think these are some of the other areas.
Yeah, I think all these insights are quite helpful for our Tech4City participants to think about your proposals. When you use technology, is it to improve the efficiency, or is it really, you know, impact the result of the human connection? So when you employ technology, please think about this. So now actually we have so many questions on the slide though. So to avoid the back-to-back question, maybe these I saw many questions interesting on Ray of Hope. So I combined two together. The first one is how do you decide on campaigns to feature? Have you ever rejected a fundraising request? Also, will Ray of Hope's fundraising be eventual model for all other charities to emulate?
Okay, so again, the answer is balance, right? So for example, again, I go back to Baby Zen's campaign, right? Should we focus all of our efforts now to fundraise for him? You could argue, yes, he needs $3 million. It is, there is some urgency. What about the other 50 families who are not in such a dire need but also need help? So I just had this, as I was debating with my developers, we were hoping, can we change our homepage, the picture just to Baby Zen's photo? I'm like, no, we can't. I can put his campaign as the first campaign you see when you scroll on our website, but I can't just change the homepage now to him because it's not fair to my other beneficiaries. So in terms of how we choose, there is some, urgency is one thing. We also have our own campaigns that we run. For example, now we actually have a campaign called Hope Beyond Borders, where we are fundraising for migrant workers. So all of the funds that go into this campaign goes to migrant workers. In terms of campaigns where we rejected, typically again, these are stuff that you don't see behind the scenes. Because we are a charity and a platform, we don't put all campaigns up. There are cases where we reject campaigns because either they outright lie or they were not forthcoming. So for example, if I ask you, are you getting government assistance? You tell me you're not. We actually have a way to check on the government system. And it turns out actually you are getting, then we can't put your campaign online because we're protecting donors. So these are some of the examples where, or we just hear something that is fishy, or we just cannot verify the story, even though it might be a very compelling story. We are here to protect donors, protect donors' funds, right? That's why we can't start the campaign. The second question, whether or not other charities should emulate. One of my challenges is, if everybody gives to my beneficiaries, who gives to Ray of Hope? And then we become a victim of our own success, because if you come to Ray of Hope wanting 100% of the funds to go to the beneficiary, when I start asking you to donate to Ray of Hope, you're like, no, I want to give to Mr. Lim. I want to give to Baby Zen. Why should I give to Ray of Hope? You're just a platform. So actually, it's our 10th anniversary. If you go to the website, you will see a nice yellow banner that talks about how we're turning 10. I can tell you very little people donate to that campaign because you're donating to a charity. So when I give advice to other charities about fundraising, I often say this: you should be as specific as possible, because the biggest campaigns that we have raised at Ray of Hope are very, very specific. For this campaign, when you go to the page, you don't even need to read the campaign story. I am donating money so that this baby can buy a drug. I am donating money so that a healthcare worker can have a cup of coffee. I'm giving to this campaign because I know I'm feeding isolated elderly during the circuit breaker. So it's very, very specific. But as a charity, I don't know how to be specific. Should I break down my program costs and tell you, for example, I can tell you this very honestly, it takes about maybe $4,000 to verify one beneficiary. But my campaigns I raise are less than that. Then the question I get is, wait, then shouldn't you just take that money and give to the beneficiary? But then we go beyond crowdfunding. We do a lot more than just fundraising. Right, so who should pay for our services? So quickly, in the charity sector, you have the consumer and the customer. Usually it's the same person. When you go on Lazada and buy something, you are both. In the charity sector, the customer is the donor, the consumer is the beneficiary. So who pays for what? I mean, I have 2 young kids, right? So as a parent, I pay for childcare. So the childcare teachers spend a lot of time, probably more time, taking pictures of my child and putting on the app to show me what they're doing. Because if they don't do that, I'll be like, wow, I spend so much money on childcare. What are they doing with my kids? They may be spending a lot of time and doing great with my child, but I don't know. So similarly in a charity setting, you can spend all your time on the beneficiary, but if you don't tell donors what you're doing, it's as if nothing is happening. Which is very sad to say, but that's why a lot of time is the communication. So I will tell charities, be transparent and really tell donors where your funds are going. And yeah, so that's the second question.
Yeah, so I think back to the beginning, it's the trust between organization and people. So next question directed to Gina. So our audience is curious to learn on plans for Green Space Plus to encourage seniors to come forward as part of active volunteers where they can continue to feel purposeful.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of our target profiles. We actually have 4 or 5 target profiles. One is active seniors, right? Because active seniors have a lot to contribute in terms of their knowledge, especially on certain areas. So we have a once a month meetup with all this group of people to make sure that they are incorporated into the whole system, because it's a neighborhood place and you see a lot of seniors who's around. That's one. We have the younger ones. We have youth. Right? We also have parents with kids, and we also have kids. So there's a few profiles that we're trying to spread across. Each of them, as I say, as long as you build purpose for them, there is a reason for them to exist, right? And each of them will be doing things that are slightly different from each other. The same program that runs through for them, normally conducted by our social enterprises, what we as Green Space Plus will do, we add on to that. That's why the plus comes in. Let's say for the kids, we add on the educational part, right? We even have our own educators coming in to say, you don't just plant, like teach you how to grow plant. We even teach you how to present your plant, so that there is educational components towards it. Moms don't have to go to tuition to do all these things, right? It comes in as a value added. So these are the things whereby people are willing to spend their time in here, because you not only learn practical skill, you learn how to present too. Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. And besides the seniors, actually our audience also wondering to hearing from all of you, besides young students, young seniors, and young workers, how young workers can contribute to the community. Dr. Andrew?
Put my mic down. My 10,000 words already reached the limit already. My wife and children are waiting also. How young people young workers, and I assume you have different disciplines and different skill set. Everything is connected. Whether you have technical skills, whether you have background in psychology, counseling, marketing, fundraising, corporate affairs. Everything is connected. I think we all need one another, and to be able to see the big picture, and to be able to pay forward. I think sometimes when you're young, we always think that it's career first, and we until a certain age before we give back. But even as a parent with also young children, as important all these milestones are, is to do a little bit. I think is to just do a little bit, manage all about managing our life and prioritization, which is what Gina mentioned when you share your background. Yeah, so that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, well, how about related to migrant workers? Do you foresee this kind of, it could be a challenge for you to develop and roll out your chatbots among migrant workers? So do you need more volunteers or other help from the society?
Yeah, so to get to know their needs, to find opportunities to talk to them. I think Charles mentioned about getting into the world of his interns, right? So stepping into their world. And that requires you to put away current mindsets, put away cultures. Cultures is a very big thing. We all grown up in a certain culture, but these are people from diverse cultures. For example, their culture is very communal. Yeah, you see them holding hands. See them holding hands. Two guys holding hands, and this will be culture shock to us. So it's daring to put aside what you have learned, and to enter their world and to understand their needs beyond just parenting, many other needs. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Koh. Our last questions will direct to Ms. Charles. Based on the project implemented, how does Huawei ensure that expert knowledge is transferred or stays on with the local community? Because we have seen so many cases that are happening around the world. How do you ensure that align with the local needs?
This actually is very simple because in all the projects we have done for Tech4, 45 projects, and the numbers keep updating every day. All the projects, every project we have local partners, right? Maybe today we don't touch about the environment side, like we have a lot of projects to helping reserve the rainforest. Actually, the model usually is local NGOs plus Huawei plus one or two technical partners who can create a solution, tailor-made solution for the projects, and usually we'll work with local operators to provide the connectivity as well. So through this ecosystem, we can make sure the knowledge will be staying and will be there because there's always local involvement. Yeah, local involvement.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you all for this insightful discussion today. It seems we are on the way to keep our kampong spirit alive at the digital age, but there are still many efforts we need to make. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Please give a big applause to our speakers today for their inspiring sharing. So I hope you have enjoyed today's session. We have prepared a goodie bag with cookies from Social Enterprise Minds and an EasyLink card from SMU College of Integrative Study, also a notepad from Ray of Hope. Please help us fill this short survey and give your feedback for us to better improve.